see, it's selective politics and it's selective who they gonna call a rat or who they not gonna call a rat in this industry. So we've been saying that since I've been home.
Terrence "Gangsta" Williams, who's locked up with Big Meech, is stepping up and shutting down 50 Cent's claims that Meech snitched. Gangsta is setting the record straight, revealing that Meech ran the entire prison with nothing but respect from everyone around him. And this changes everything. Now people are starting to question 50's whole story about Meech being a rat. Was Meech really working with the feds? Or is 50 just bitter and trying to drag his name through the mud because Meech linked up with Rick Ross instead? So what exactly did Gangsta spill about Meech's time behind bars?
One day I found out that T was cutting our dope. T was taking 4 ounces out of each key.
He would take 100 bricks and make an extra 20 bricks out of it. He got to break everything down, repress it, put it back together. I never done that. He done went about to work with my money and his money, and then he repressing my brick.
Meech wasn't feeling that, and I wasn't feeling it. So, Meech told me and Wayne, they're not finna keep stealing from us, giving us this bad dope. Y'all go deal straight with our supplier, Green Eyes from him.
Let's get into it. An old interview with New Orleans street figure Terrence "Gangsta" Williams just resurfaced, and he's spilling major details on how Big Meech was running the prison like a boss. Gangsta revealed that Meech had men following him like a true leader. Wherever he landed, he had the power to control the yard. According to Gangsta, Meech didn't even have to try. His influence was just that strong. He was the type of dude who could get the keys to any yard he stepped foot on. But here's where it gets even wilder. Meech had the chance to escape, to leave it all behind, and go back to millions before the feds caught up with him.
Amy Cohen is a government informant. So they tell me, he says, you know what this is about? And I said, no. He said, well, you threatened a government informant, and that's a federal.
But he chose to do his time instead. We'll get into that crazy escape opportunity in a minute. But first, let's break down what Gangsta said about those snitching allegations. As everyone knows, 50 Cent publicly accused Big Meech of being a federal informant, pointing fingers at his former associate, Tammy Cowens, as proof. But when Gangsta Williams was asked about these claims, he shut it down, saying he seriously doubts Meech ever cooperated. And not only that, but Gangsta also threw some shade at industry folks like 50, calling them hypocrites for picking and choosing who they decide to label a snitch.
In here with a 27-year sentence based on Demetrius Flannery, as you all know as Big Meech, and Tammy Cowens, known in the paperwork as CS1.
Right.
Confidential source 1. So what Big Meech did was call a third-party cooperation.
But to really understand where all these snitching rumors started, we need to rewind to the rise and fall of BMF, the empire that took over the streets and eventually led to Meech serving a 30-year sentence.
Big Meech, bro, I ain't gonna lie. That man got to that compound, and man, he had some of the guys I would never think that would get BMF, ENT on the left side of their neck, man. It was tattooed, and he made it clear. He said, listen, I'm not giving nobody no connect. I'm not hooking nobody up with nothing. I'm not doing nothing when y'all go home. So in other words, people try to get with him just for, the games. For me, let it be known, look, I ain't got nothing, nobody. I'm in jail doing my bid. That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, man, bro, I literally remember 25 guys after lunch will go to that rec yard with Big Meech. They gonna take over the weight pile. They're gonna work out. They're gonna hit the weights, do their little workout, and then after that, Big Meech whoever got the wine, he gonna bottle the wine up. Whoever cooking food, he gonna bottle the food up, and he gonna sit in the cell or hang out and just talk war stories, just talk about on the streets, man. He was a very good, humble dude, man. Very humble dude.
And here's the craziest part. Meech actually had a chance to escape the country and dodge prison time entirely. But instead of running, he made a bold move. He stayed and faced the consequences. That decision earned him massive respect, but it also paved the way for the drama we're seeing today, with 50 still trying to push these snitching claims. Now let's take it back to where it all started. The Black Mafia family was founded in 1985 in Southwest Detroit by brothers Demetrius "Big Meech" Flannery and Terry Lee Flannery.
U.S. Marshals say this man, one of Atlanta Police Department's top 10 most wanted and a member of an organized crime family, is now behind bars. U.S. Marshals tell me they arrested 37-year-old Ernest Dennis and 40-year-old Jonathan Manigo here outside a Buckhead hotel. Both men, they say, are members of the so-called Black Mafia family, or BMF.
Anyone tied to BMF typically has an extensive criminal history, so we consider them to be very violent.
Investigators say the organization BMF is heavily involved in drug trafficking and has been in Atlanta at least since 2004. At that time, federal agents seized this limo with secret compartments that had almost $1 million hidden inside.
What made BMF unstoppable wasn't just the brothers' ambition. It was their direct plug to high-level Mexican suppliers. With that kind of connection, they moved weight like no other, using a family-run car service to distribute their product and dominate the game. BMF didn't just move in silence, they built an entire entertainment empire as a front. At their peak, the organization had 500 members, making major power moves all across the US. But Big Meech and Southwest T didn't just climb to the top, they fought for their spot. They survived brutal turf wars, deadly territorial battles, and took serious losses along the way. Back in the late 80s, Southwest T caught a bullet to the right eye, leaving him partially blind for life. And Meech, he got shot twice.
Demetrius Flannery and his brother Terry ran one of the country's largest operations during the late 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. The pair had hundreds of employees, generated hundreds of millions of dollars, and even had a successful record label and magazine. But in 2006, the brothers were indicted in a federal RICO case originating out of Georgia.
BMF was the first group that was accused of being both a criminal organization and a record label.
Attorney Josh Schiffers says Demetrius, also known as Big Meech, is highly regarded because he never took a deal or snitched on his co-conspirators.
And he went down. And when he went down, he and his brother were sentenced to 30 years in prison.
In 2020, Terry Flannery was released, and just this week, Big Meech was released from prison. He will serve the remainder of his sentence at a halfway house in Miami.
Once in the neck outside a Chinese spot in the 80s, and then again in 2004 outside an Atlanta club when he took a hit in his behind. That second shooting was no random incident. It popped off after an altercation with Anthony Wolf Jones, Diddy's former bodyguard. While Meech walked away with minor injuries, Wolf and another man didn't make it out alive. This moment shook up the streets and added another layer of controversy to Meech's already legendary story. But BMF wasn't just about the street game. They were all about living big. We're talking 13 multi-million-dollar mansions spread across the country, fleets of foreign luxury whips, closets stacked with designer from top to bottom, and exclusive access to Jacob the Jeweler's most iced-out pieces. BMF wasn't just an organization, it was a lifestyle. Meech always claimed that BMF was built on brotherhood, but at the height of their reign, those family ties started falling apart. The sibling rivalry between him and Southwest T turned into a full-blown power struggle, with members recalling how even the smallest disagreements would explode into heated public blowouts. Neither brother was willing to back down, and Meech,
it was there when it was changing.
Exactly.
And they caught it. Okay, we're gonna catch it, we're gonna do this party, we're gonna have the tigers and the lions and you know what I'm saying, elephants and stuff, all you know, like we never seen that type of stuff. Like you can say what you wanna say, you know what I'm saying, about, but it's that type of stuff you only seen in movies, and you didn't even see that in movies. Yeah. Like for real, not no black people really doing it like that. You know what I mean? So from here to Miami, Cancun, renting out the whole jet. You know, it's stuff that people still ain't doing to this day.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
At the peak of BMF's reign, Meech and T split the empire in two. T moved to LA to stay connected with the Mexican connection, while Meech took over Atlanta, keeping the streets booming and the clubs on fire. But with the empire divided, loyalty started shifting. BMF members began choosing sides, setting the stage for the beginning of the end.
I wasn't going to address this because I'm not trying to let nobody trick me off the streets. But I never folded, never told, never will. Death before dishonor, always with me.
By 2000, Meech had his eyes on the music industry. He launched BMF Entertainment, stepping into hip-hop like he was born for it. With his flashy lifestyle, designer drip, and magnetic energy, Meech fit right into the world of money, power, and spectacle. BMF wasn't just a street empire anymore, it was the movement in rap. Back then, every major name in hip-hop was around Meech: Diddy, Jay-Z, T.I., Jeezy, and even 50 Cent. They all partied with him, and his legendary flexes are still talked about to this day. Meech rolled 100 deep into clubs, shut down VIP sections, and pulled off crazy stunts, like parking his 2 Maybachs right next to Jay-Z's just to make a statement.
I couldn't do it. If I was for self, I could have did that. I could have grabbed a bunch of millions and been on somewhere where you can't be extradited. But that wasn't what I was out for. I've already played the illegal game to the fullest, so now I was trying to legitimize me and the whole family. I mean, I was 37 years old when I got picked up, so I was slowing down anyway, as far as I was getting kind of tired. But when you the face of the family, that's the one thing that I was starting to learn. Even at 37 years old, even though I'm feeling old because I've been doing it so long, like I was getting kind of tired. You know me, I'm popping pills, smoking weed, drinking, and partying, freaking, getting money, got whips going up and down the road. I'm doing everything to try to make this family successful, and everything we do look big, everything.
Big Meech's flexing was next level, but nothing topped the wildest story of them all: his jungle-themed birthday party at Magic City.
Do you think Big Meech told on somebody to get out, snitched, did anything extra?
No. Let me tell you why. Big Meech's paperwork is public records. There is no proof that Big Meech said, hey, bust him, bust him, bust him. Now, the situation with the lady Tammy, the female that he cool with or whatever, mess with whatever, I was having an argument with somebody about this last night. Now, if we go by prison rules and standards, Big Meech didn't sit down with the agents and say, hey, my bro gonna go ahead and settle boy up for me, so make sure y'all give me the credit. So we couldn't make a move on him because his name not in the paperwork for saying authorizing.
He didn't just roll in deep. He brought 2 white tigers into the club like it was his personal safari. Meanwhile, Meech and Southwest T's decision to run BMF separately did help the empire expand, but their growing tension also pushed it toward collapse. T wasn't feeling Meech's flashy, high-profile lifestyle, and he started venting about it to family and friends. But what he didn't know, the feds had him on wiretaps the whole time. While T was unknowingly getting caught on tape, Meech kept living like royalty, throwing insane parties where he'd blow millions in a single night. But what he didn't know? Some of the people partying with him weren't just fans or industry insiders. They were undercover law enforcement, watching his every move, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And after 15 years of relentless investigation by federal and local task forces, including the IRS, the feds finally made their move. The feds weren't playing.
Big Meech, bro, I ain't gonna lie. That man got to that compound, and man, he had some of the guys I would never think that would get BMF, ENT on the left side of their neck, man.
After 15 years of relentless investigation, they had over 900 pages of wiretaps, informant statements, seized financial records, and 24/7 surveillance. With all the evidence stacked against them, they were ready to pull the trigger. And in 2005, they did just that.
Jay-Z had I want to say a sky blue or champagne Maybach, and this is when they first came out. Meech drove up in 2 Maybachs. He pulled the Maybachs up, and I don't know if he purposefully did it or whatever the case may be, but he pulled them in order to block in Jay's Maybach. Meech was always friends with Diddy. Like that's his boy. You know what I mean? That was always his boy. So I think for Meech, it was sort of trying to assert his presence, so that he wanted to make it so that Jay had to speak to him in order to get the cars moved or whatever. But it wasn't no beef at all. It was just sort of that I'm rich too, and I'm street rich for real.
Big Meech and Southwest T were taken down on drug and racketeering charges in a series of coordinated high-stakes raids. T was snatched up in St. Louis, while Meech was cornered in Frisco, Texas. And they didn't fall alone. 150 BMF affiliates were rounded up too, officially bringing down one of the most powerful street empires hip-hop had ever seen. But here's the thing, BMF saw it coming. Even before the feds moved in, they knew the walls were closing in. Southwest T was the first to go, but Meech had one last chance to escape. He could have fled to Mexico, disappeared, and avoided the feds for good, but he refused to run. Instead, he made one final move, first to Miami, then to Frisco, where he was eventually caught. When the feds made their move, they didn't just take down the Flannery brothers, they came for their entire family. Their dad, sister, and even their girlfriends got caught up in the sweep because their names were on the titles of homes and businesses used to launder BMF's money. The DEA wasn't playing fair either. They used this as leverage, pressuring Meech and T to cooperate.
Do you think Big Meech told on somebody to get out, snitched, did anything extra?
No. Let me tell you why. Big Meech's paperwork is public records. There is no proof that Big Meech said, hey, bust him, bust him, bust him.
They made an offer, take full responsibility, and we'll let your family walk. And that's exactly what they did. The DEA hit BMF with everything they had, charging Meech and Southwest T under the Continuing Criminal Enterprise, CCE statute, also known as the Kingpin Law. Both brothers pleaded guilty and were sentenced to 30 years in federal prison. But while Southwest T caught a break, Meech wasn't so lucky. In 2020, T was released early due to the COVID-19 pandemic and placed on house arrest to serve the rest of his sentence. Meech, however, was denied compassionate release, even when he argued health concerns during the pandemic. But after 2 decades behind bars, in October 2024, Big Meech finally walked free. He was released from prison and ordered to finish his sentence at a halfway house. While the Flannery brothers were locked up, the Black Mafia family didn't fade away. It became a cultural phenomenon. Their name lived on through music, fashion, and interviews, turning Big Meech's story into a full-blown pop culture sensation. The legend really took off in 2010, 5 years after Meech and T went down. It all started with the book, BMF, The Rise and Fall of Big Meech and the Black Mafia Family by Mara Shalhoub, giving the world a deeper look into their empire.
Everybody's shining like new money. There ain't no other crew like this in the world, and never will be another. Not black, it never will be, because they said that if like this is shining all together, being together, doing shit every day, then they gonna fall out over some money or somebody gonna rob, steal, and kill. I have yet to see that. All of us get along with money.
That same year, Rick Ross dropped his hit single, BMF, Blowin' Money Fast, glorifying Meech's larger-than-life lifestyle and cementing his name in hip-hop history. By 2020, the BMF brand was stronger than ever, and 50 Cent saw an opportunity. He teamed up with stars to bring BMF's story to TV, launching the hit drama series BMF. And in a wild twist, Big Meech's own son, Lil Meech, made his acting debut, playing his father.
Meech chartered a commercial flight for hundreds of people, and Meech paid for everybody. It was a full-on party in the sky.
Have you seen the movie Soul Plane? It was like Soul Plane.
Yeah, get good. Got the mom support 100%. Jay, run with that.
Meech had everything set up. Everything was set up for us to party.
Give me one of these, man. Big dog, what's up, baby? Hey, just chillin' like a building in Mexico, man. You know how we do it, big.
The series was such a massive success that 50 and Stars kept the momentum going. In 2022, they followed up with an 8-hour docuseries, BMF, Blowin' Money Fast, diving deep into the real story behind the empire. And by 2023, 50 was all in, announcing that the BMF cinematic universe was officially expanding, with 3 new spin-offs and a 3rd season in the works. But just when everything seemed to be falling into place, one photo changed everything. When Big Meech linked up with Rick Ross shortly after his release, a single picture from their meetup went viral. and it set off a firestorm. The image reignited tensions between Meech and 50 Cent, leading to an all-out war of words. And 50 didn't hold back. He blasted Meech, accused him of snitching, and even announced the end of the BMF show. As for Meech, he's not feeding into the drama. He's refusing to go back and forth with 50, but he did address the snitching rumors, shutting it down and claiming he's never cooperated with the feds in his life. But 50 isn't letting it go. He recently doubled down, claiming he has actual paperwork proving Meech worked with law enforcement. However, some fans are calling him out, pointing out that these so-called documents have been floating around for a while, and that the whole Meech as an informant story might not be as solid as 50 wants people to believe.
So we were in Club Chaos this particular night, and one of Meech's friends, Wolf, was there. So Wolf and Meech knew each other because he was Puffy's ex-bodyguard, and Puffy and Meech were close. Wolf sees his ex-girlfriend, but she's not with Meech, you know, she's standing on the back wall. Wolf reaches past Meech and mushes her, and Meech was like, nah, that's not going down. Whatever y'all got going on, you can handle that privately with her. But if she's standing here with me, I can't have you disrespect her like that.
That led to verbal altercation, physical altercation, which led to Wolf Jones ejected from the club. Demetrius and his bodyguard, Bull Height, were on their way to their vehicle when they encountered Wolf Jones and Riz Gertie waiting for them with guns drawn. Wolf Jones started shooting.
All hell broke loose. Gunfire was coming from everywhere.
Police aren't sure what triggered the violence, but witnesses say dozens of bullets flew near the intersection of East Paces Ferry and Bowling Way.
We all meet up at the house, and it's still not a big deal. You know, Meech is actually leaning on the counter laughing because we're drunk as hell. He's like, man, Yogi, my ass is burning. I'm like, what? He's like, man, I think I got shot in the ass. And sure enough, he got shot in the ass.
And now, things are about to get even messier, but the drama doesn't stop there. While 50 Cent keeps pushing the snitching narrative, Meech's supporters are firing back, claiming it's all just a smear campaign fueled by jealousy and old grudges. Some fans believe 50 is just mad that Meech linked up with Rick Ross, especially after their long-standing beef. Meanwhile, Meech is keeping it low-key, staying focused on his next moves rather than engaging in a public battle. But behind the scenes, rumors are swirling that he's planning something big, whether it's a new business venture, a tell-all interview, or even his own version of the BMF story. And let's not forget, 50 Cent has a history of calling out rappers, moguls, and street figures. Some people think this is just another one of his publicity stunts, while others wonder if he really has receipts to back up his claims. Either way, one thing is clear, this feud is far from over. With all the back and forth, fans are now divided, some standing by Big Meech, while others are waiting to see if 50 really has the receipts he claims to. But so far, no solid proof has surfaced that actually confirms Meech cooperated with the feds. Meanwhile, Meech is making moves behind the scenes, and sources say he's focused on rebuilding his legacy after spending 2 decades behind bars. Word on the street is that he's been in talks with major players in the industry, possibly working on a new project that could change the narrative for good. But here's where things get even more complicated. Rick Ross isn't staying quiet either. He's fully standing by Meech, throwing subliminal shots at 50 in his music and social media posts. Some fans think this is just fueling the fire, while others believe Ross is defending Meech from a smear campaign. One thing's for sure, this isn't just about snitching anymore. It's about power, loyalty, and the battle for BMF's legacy. And with tensions rising, who knows what's coming next?
For every place we stay at, LA, Atlanta, Detroit, we have homes, our own homes. We don't have to go in and rent. We got our own houses, we got our own cars, we got our own hoes, we got our own clothes. You know what I'm saying? And we can't be stopped. I don't see nobody stop. I don't see none to come after us either. None. Nobody will never do this again, because this many and this much money can't get along.
Now, even if Tammy Cowens cooperated with the feds and helped reduce Meech's sentence, that doesn't necessarily mean Meech was involved in it. If this was a real cooperation deal, Meech would have had to approve it, giving Tammy the green light to hand over key information to get his sentence cut. But if Meech had no knowledge of it or wasn't actively involved, then it's more of a technical loophole rather than him being a full-blown informant. But here's where it gets messy. 50 Cent is convinced that Meech definitely knew about Tammy's deal and was feeding her info to pass along to the feds. On the other hand, folks like Gangsta Williams, who actually know Meech, say they don't buy it at all. So, what do you think? Why is 50 so locked in on this narrative about Meech snitching? And if this paperwork has been floating around for years, why didn't 50 have an issue when he was making a whole TV series about BMF? But the moment Meech linked up with Rick Ross, it's suddenly a problem? Is 50 being a hypocrite, or does he have a real reason for calling this out? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown. See y'all in the next video.